guys, this is Brittany from Just Be Crafty, and today I'm going to demonstrate the simple crochet textured dishcloth pattern. I've actually gotten a couple requests on how to make this, so I thought it'd be fun to share the tutorial with you. This crochet dishcloth makes an approximately 7 by 7 inch dishcloth, so it's the perfect size for your kitchen and scrubbing up your dishes. To make this dishcloth, you'll need a skein of Lily Sugar and Cream cotton yarn. This is in the color Mod Blue, a 5mm crochet hook, a pair of scissors, and a yarn needle. You'll want to begin with a slip knot and by chaining 21. And for help with chaining and slip knots, I will have a tutorial linked in the description box below. Alright, so you should have 21 chains on your foundation chain, and the pattern tells us in row 1 we'll start in the second chain from our hook. So this is the first chain from our hook and this is the second chain from our hook. So we're going to start by single crocheting, which is just inserting your hook, grabbing your working yarn, pulling it through, yarning over, and pulling through both loops on your hook. That's a single crochet. In the second stitch, we're going to make a double crochet. So you'll start by yarning over, inserting your hook into that second chain, grabbing your working yarn, pulling it through, yarning over, pulling through the first 2 loops on your hook, yarn over again, and pull through the second 2 loops on your hook. And that's a double crochet. So we're going in the next stitch, we are going to single crochet, and then the next stitch we're going to double crochet. So we're just going to keep alternating single crochet and double crochet until we get to the very last chain. Okay, so now I'm at the very last chain and you should be ending with a double crochet. So we have just completed row 1, and to start row 2, so to end row 1, we'll actually chain 1 and turn. And now we're ready to begin row 2. So in row 2, we skip the first stitch and then single crochet and double crochet in the next stitch. So if you look closely, so this is our chain 1 and this is our first stitch. So we're skipping this first stitch and then we're going to single crochet and double crochet in this second stitch. So we're going to single crochet and then we're going to go back into that same stitch and make a double crochet. So yarn over, insert your hook into that stitch, grab your working yarn, pull it through, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops on your hook, yarn over again, pull through the second 2 loops on your hook. Then we're going to skip a stitch, and then we'll single crochet and double crochet in that next stitch. So we're going to skip this next stitch and we're going to go into this stitch right here. So single crochet, and then in that same stitch we're going to double crochet. So if you want to go ahead and pause the video and finish up row 2, we can meet back up for row 3. Alright, so I'm almost done with row 2. And you'll see at the end of the row, so this was my last single crochet and double crochet that I just did. We're skipping that next stitch and then I'm going right into this last stitch with my single crochet, followed by the double crochet. And we're just going to end by chaining 1 and turning. So now we're ready to begin row 3. And rows 3 through 15, we're actually just going to keep repeating row 2. So let's do row 3 together. You're going to start by skipping that first stitch and you're going to single crochet and double crochet into that second stitch. Skip a stitch, single crochet, and double crochet. And then just keep repeating that until you reach the end of the row. I'm almost to the end of my row 3, and you can see this is the very last stitch of the row. So I just did a single crochet and a double crochet. I'm skipping that next stitch, and we're going into this stitch right here, which is the last stitch of the row. So we're going to end by that single crochet followed by the double crochet. And then you'll end by chaining 1 and turning. So now you're ready to begin row 4. Now you'll just keep repeating this whole entire process, or just keep repeating row 2 until you reach the end of row 15. So if you want to go ahead and pause the video and then meet me back here to start the border of the dishcloth. Alright, so I'm just about finishing up row 15, and we're going to end in this last stitch with a single crochet and double crochet. Then we're going to finish row 15 by chaining 1 and turning our work. From this point forward, we're going to be creating our border. So we're going to be crocheting in around the entire dishcloth. And this is what you should end up with after your 15 rows. The combination of the single crochet and double crochet makes this really, really pretty texture, and it makes a perfect, really thirsty, thick, and nice dishcloth. For round 1, we're starting with that chain 1 from our previous row, the chain 1 that we just made right before we turned our work. And we're going to make 3 single crochets in the first stitch. So that's this stitch right here. So 1, 2, and 3. And this is going to make our first corner stitch. Now we're going to single crochet in each stitch across this row until we get to the last stitch, and in the last stitch we'll make 3 more single crochets to make the second corner stitch. Alright, so I'm almost at corner number 2. I'm just going to do a single crochet, and then this last stitch, this is the last stitch right here. So we're going to make the second corner, we're going to make 3 single crochets. And now we're going to single crochet along the side of our work. We're going to put 17 single crochets along this side. And to do that, you'll go into each row, and you just want to do that as best you can. It doesn't need to be perfect, but just make sure you have about 17 single crochets along the side. Alright, so now I've made 17 single crochets along the side of my work, and I've reached the other end. Once you get to the other end, this is now the bottom of your work. So this is where your work began with your foundation chain. So in this first kind of chain area, that is where you will form your third corner stitch. Alright, so now we have our third corner stitch, and you're just going to want to single crochet along this row until you reach the end of this, and you'll make 3 single crochets in the 4th corner. So to do that, you'll want to insert your hook into these spaces. And as you go, the spaces kind of pop up a little bit so you can see where to put your hook. And if you end up getting a little lost, just make sure you have about 20 single crochets, and that should match the top end of your work. Alright, so I'm almost at the end of the bottom side of my dishcloth. And now, so I'm at the last stitch, and I'm going to want to make 3 single crochets right in there. And now we're going to repeat the process that we did on the other side by making 17 single crochets along this side of the work. Okay, so now I've made 17 single crochets along this last side of my work, and I've reached back around to where I started. So to end, we'll just make a slip stitch in the very first stitch of the round. So to make a slip stitch, we'll just go into that very first single crochet and slip the stitch. Okay, so we're going to start round 2 by chaining 2, and in the same stitch as our chain 2, we're going to make a double crochet, and then the next stitch we're going to make 3 double crochets, and we're going to do that because that is the center corner stitch, and we're going to make 3 double crochets in each of the center corner stitches for each corner. So we just did a double crochet, and now in this center corner stitch we're going to do 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And we're just going to single crochet across this row until we get to the other middle corner stitch, and we'll do 3 single crochets in there as well. Alright, so we're almost at that second center corner stitch. So we're entering the corner right now, so we're going to double crochet, and now we are at the middle corner stitch, and in that stitch we're going to make 3 double crochets in here for corner 2. So 1, 2, and 3, all in that same stitch. And you're just going to keep doing that until you reach all the way back around to where we started. So I'm almost done with round 2 of my border, or the last round of my border. I have 1 more stitch left. I'm going to make my last double crochet, and now all that I have left is to join with the first double crochet of the round with a slip stitch. So insert your hook into the stitch, yarn over, and then don't yarn over your hook, and just pull the first loop through the second loop on your hook to complete that slip stitch. So now we are in the home stretch. You've almost finished your dishcloth. So you'll just end by grabbing your scissors, cutting your yarn, and then securing it. Okay, so we've just cut our yarn, and now you're going to take your yarn needle and weave in your ends. Alright, so now my ends have been woven in and I've cut my tails, and I'm ready to flip over and see my finished dishcloth. I hope you found this tutorial helpful, and if you did, please be sure to like and subscribe to my channel. Thanks! Bye!